I'm about to build a tent out of IKEA bags with the goal of taking it camping in these spooky woods in the depths of winter by myself. Hell no! Because tents these days are expensive, and I think this could prove to be a perfect budget alternative. And it could be fashionable. At the time, IKEA bags being used to make a tent just seemed like a no-brainer, so I bought 12 with the hopes of making a one-man tent something like this. So step number one of building this IKEA tent is going to be breaking these bags up into separate panels. And then I can take the panels, re-stitch them together and form the shapes that I need. Sounds easy enough. I mean, come on, we're basically there. Then I realized it was easier and neater to just cut the bags instead of ripping them. So that's exactly what I did. And after that, we've got many IKEA bags which have been dismantled and are almost ready to be sewn together. Okay. Step number 2, cutting off the IKEA strap, because I'm thinking this is gonna be the perfect guide rope. Do the bit that sticks from the tent into the ground and sort of holds the tent up. Yeah, that's what this. Perfect. Now the bags are ready to sew, but I still didn't have a plan for the tent design, so I went and did some market research. There were some really impressive tents, which were way better than what I was going to be capable of making, but it did give me a good understanding of what kind of tent I did want to make. Okay, so I found a tent which is similar to that I want to build. It's £475 or £290 if you remember, but £300 for a tent, for a 2-man tent. Okay, this is going to be harder than I first anticipated. There is way more to a tent than I thought there was. There's internal shells, external shells, internal brackets, clips, poles. It's not just a bag. And second of all, in my head, IKEA bags are waterproof, but I've not actually tested them. And if they're not waterproof, this video is over before it's even started. And then thirdly, if they are waterproof, then they're definitely not breathable, which means I'm gonna have to add lots of ventilation to the tent or I will essentially be suffocating myself. So I need to be careful about that as well. I'm starting to doubt this is even possible, but we'll just give it a good go. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the IKEA bag is full of water and not leaking, so it is waterproof. So I got about designing the tent. I decided on a one-man tent with poles at the front and rear and additional straps to support the structure and then a rear door. Seems simple and sturdy. And no, that's not a sausage roll. That's meant to be me and my sleeping bag in the tent. The next thing I'm going to be doing is learning how to sew. Because obviously I'm going to have to stitch the IKEA bags together to form the tent. So without knowing how to sew, there's a problem. And this is actually a really important part because if I don't do a good job with the stitching, condensation will get in, water will get into the tent, and who knows, it could fall apart completely. And we're going to be sewing today on my grandma's sewing machine. This is significantly older than I am, and I've been promised by my mum that if I break it, she will kill me. So we don't want that. I unboxed Bernina, and this sewing machine weighed more than most cars do.
So this is the accelerator. This is a go.
Unboxing the sewing machine was like going in a time machine, but it was cool.
No way. The date of delivery of this sewing machine was the 5th of April, 1980.
Okay, it's now the next day, but I have got the sewing machine set up and ready to go. So as we actually haven't sewed any IKEA bags together yet, Mum just came down and sewed one together to make sure that you actually can sew them together and that when you do sew them together, that they're actually going to be strong enough.
And I tell you what, Mumsy absolutely killed it.
It feels really strong and sturdy and waterproof, so
brilliant.
Originally, I was just going to start off by sewing random bits of fabric together, but after seeing Mum do it, she's given me the confidence to just go straight in for it. So I'm going to try and sew one of the IKEA bags together now, and let's see what happens. Hopefully it comes out pretty well.
Step 1, lever on the back, foot down. Here we go. Then we go in reverse. Hold up this panel to reverse. Oh, it's not sewing. Oh no, I need to re-thread it. All right, let's try again. Oh, I've just pulled it out again, this flipping thread. Mum!
But with some help from my mum, I was somehow learning to sew. And now I could sew, I was ready to start sewing together some of the tent components.
Yes! First bit of sewing complete, and it went worryingly well. But now we're on to the big challenge. This is the toughest part. So I folded over and sellotaped all the bags together to form like what I think is going to be the base sheet. Just to get a feel for dimensions. Width-wise, I think this is perfect. However, length-wise, I think it's slightly too short.
But this was about to be the least of my problems.
I think the sewing machine was just burning.
That if I break it, she will kill me.
There is not a good smell coming from this. Okay, manufacturing has been upscaled. We are now sewing together 2 IKEA bags. I've used pegs, sellotape. This is going to be wild. Whew. I just went absolutely crazy on Bernina here. And we now have a fully complete ground sheet for the tent. Yes! I'm not sure if you can see from this angle, but it still is great. This is the exact right size I need. The next problem I'm going to be trying to solve is the tent poles. I've been and bought a load of tent poles off Temu. It was £1, I think, per set. I bought 3 sets. And what I'm going to be trying to establish is if I can bend these poles enough that I can get them over the tent and that I can make them into the size that I actually need. The poles that I've got for the tent were just like one standard size, so I've had to cut them down. And now that I've got the size for the different frames, I can then work out the dimensions for the actual tent and start sewing all that together. Okay, slight issue we've just had there. I've just snapped one of the poles. I was just like bending it over like what I have done to this one and it snapped. So I might have to rethink this.
And redesign was exactly what I did. I moved to a 1-pole design. Then I sewed some more bags into rectangles and then set about sticking these panels together to form this new design. Well, it doesn't quite look like a tent just yet, but you know what I'm thinking.
So this is what we're working with currently. It's quite a long way off a tent, doesn't it? I think this point in a project is where the quote, trust the process comes from. A sensible thing at this point would be to try and plan out a bit more what the structure's actually going to look like. It is kind of just a pile of IKEA bags at the minute, but I think I might be better just trying to sew and see how it goes and, you know, learn from the process. Adapt, improvise, overcome. All those words sort of spring to mind. So here goes nothing.
So this stage of the build process was going to be making the hood. This was a vital component to get right, because if I got this wrong, the whole tent could be wonky. I then cut down the IKEA straps into small sections and sewed them onto the hood. That's so they could be used as the pole pocket.
I did it! I've made like the central midsection of the tent. I'm going to put this together and hopefully we're going to have something which is starting to resemble a tent. This is a huge moment for the build. Yes! Look at this! So the next piece of the build I'm going to be moving on to is the end of the tent, the foot piece, the cone end. So the plan is sew on a IKEA bag, which I made no modifications to the ground sheet, and then fill in the gap between the central piece and the nose cone into a tent. You feel me? Oh, I bet my grandma would love to see this tent. I think I'm probably the last person she would expect to see sewing, ever. If I can complete this, I think she'll be proud.
You could probably see from this, but using more bags makes it increasingly hard to sew them together.
I'm having a lot of problems here with grandma's sewing machine. So here, for example, on the top, the stitching's fine, but underneath, just look how it's all like building up. That's not supposed to happen. Look at that! What is that?
So I had to rope in some help from an expert. Again, my mum. And before I knew it, we were back in action. It was just an issue with the sewing machine.
Oh my gosh, it's like you're conducting surgery. I'm currently in the middle of sewing together 2 massive panels, which is proving incredibly difficult. I'm spending around 90% of my time trying to set the panels up and another 10% actually doing the sewing. And then another 10% after that correcting the sewing I've just done because it's wrong. But on the bright side, we've got a tent that is coming together. Oh yes! Look at that! It's following the angle down nicely and that's going to go down to the footwell. Let's go!
I then started assembling the new upper, but then we had another issue.
I've just stopped recording and the tent pole has snapped once again.
Yeah, this was now the 3rd pole I'd snapped.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this. I don't know whether this design's going to work. Is this just how I've got it set up in here? Outside, would it work if I like plug it into the grass, or is the design wrong? Given the disaster that's just happened, there's been a change of plan. I'm now sewing together the IKEA straps, which are going to work as guide ropes. If I use the guide ropes to help me set the tent up, maybe it'll hold its structure better.
Now I had the guide ropes complete, it was time to finish off the main body of the tent. I started off by filling in this massive section. Using more and more IKEA bags was making it increasingly hard to sew. But of course, that was no match for Bernina.
This thing is an absolute machine.
I had to get a move on though, because it was time to go camping.
And this is what we're working with now. It's kind of looking like a tent, isn't it? So today is actually camping day. It's 9 a.m. in the morning. We've got, at least 6 hours, I think, sort of working on the tent and trying to get it complete, which I think should be enough.
So I pinned everything in place and started the last leg of sewing.
It all folds up into this. It almost looks like a big IKEA bag again. Update, we've got a bit of an issue. Grandma's sewing machine, Bernina, is not very happy about sewing like 4 layers of IKEA bags together, unsurprisingly. Guys, we're getting somewhere. Hell yeah. Oh, sugar. Grandma's sewing up. Oh, no. That was gonna happen.
This was just completely out of control.
First time in the tent. Let me show you. A lot of blue. You probably can't really see a great deal, but it's quite spacious. I think it's quite good. Just gonna trim all these excess bits of plastic off, make it a bit more roomy. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
So I packed up the tent and my camping gear and set off to the camping spot. The sun was setting as I arrived at camp, but it was only going to be a 1 mile trek up to the camping spot, so surely I wasn't going to have any issues.
This is completely ridiculous. I'm not sure this hill is being done any justice by the camera. We're going up it, carrying on this hard work. I might be dreaming. I'm just walking up this hill, and it's massively steep. And then I had like my sleeping bag on top of this bag. Anyway, I was carrying it up. The sleeping bag fell out my bag and has now rolled down that hill and is somewhere down there. I think it's in the stream. So I'm gonna have to go down and try and get it. If it's in the stream though, I'm gonna be going home. This challenge is gonna be over. I've left all my camping stuff just there. I'm gonna try and descend down here now, very carefully. Oh, I can see my sleeping bag. I think it is in the river. How the f am I gonna get back up here? Oh. Just fell over. This is so fun. I'm loving my first solo camping experience. Oh my days, it's dry! Yes! Back on the road in about 15 minutes from the camping spot, so we're on a win. Okay guys, I think I found my spot for camping tonight. I don't think it's like the best camping spot, but I'm just liking the vibes, okay? It's on a bit of a hill. On further inspection, it's quite a steep hill. But as long as I'm like lay up the hill, it should be all good. What's around me? Lots of fallen trees, which is quite unnerving because I don't want to get squashed by a tree. Okay, we found a camping spot for tonight. Just checking there's no one near me because this is absolutely terrifying. Like, genuinely, I am terrified. It's much more enjoyable just watching outdoor boys on YouTube than actually doing it yourself. I'm just going to spend a bit of time now, like cleaning this area, and then I'll set the tent up, and then I'm going to try and make some food. Score. Okay, we've cleared the area a bit. It's now tent time. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah! Alright! Now, tent pole. is not the time for technical malfunctions, and yeah, the tent pole has snapped. Anyway, the next shot you're gonna see is the IKEA tent setup. You ready? Oh yes, look at this. Now we're talking. Woo! Now it's time to set up the cooking stuff. Right, campers. So on the menu tonight, we've got cook shots. I've got roast chicken snack pot, and then I've got a chicken and sweet corn cup shot. Both ready in 5 minutes. So I'm gonna boil some water, then sort of chuck it in here, swizz it all together, and then in 5 minutes, I'm gonna have lots of pasta. Also, you're probably looking at what I've got here and thinking, how many days is this guy camping for? Yeah, I've probably gone a bit over the top on the gear. Better to be over prepared. That's what I'm thinking, at least. Coming to the realization, I haven't actually got that much water as well, but now I've got half a bottle left, which will do me fine. Stick it on there. Well, bam, we're off. We're cooking on gas. Executive decision. I think this is as much or as close to boiling as we're gonna get. So let's just add in that pasta. Okay. Oh, yeah. Warm food. What a success.
Yeah, I was genuinely so grateful for this food. It was getting really cold.
This is so good. Hello again. It's now really dropping cold. I'd imagine we're at least into the minuses, maybe -2, -3, 4. It's cold. So to warm up, I want to get a fire going. And while my food was cooking earlier, I was gathering some of these fallen down trees, and I've made a little bit of a fire. All this wood is covered in moss, which is going to make it really hard for it to light. But I've got little bits of twigs together that should light easier. I've waited until now though, because I'm going to use the cup shots as like the kindle for the fire. I'm going to light these, shove them at the bottom of this fire, and hopefully it'll just, you know, up in flames. The rest is history, and I'm going to keep warm. But if we don't get this fire going, I am quite concerned because I am getting cold and I don't really have any more layers. Okay, the good news is the paper's lighting really well. It's not really setting anything else on fire though. Oh, come on, nothing. Damn it. Just the wood is way too damp for this. To get anything going here. It looks like something's happening, but it's just the paper lighting up. Oh, hang on. No, nothing. Oh no. What's up, campers? So the game plan's changed. The game plan is now survival mode. So I think what I'm going to do is get everything that I need in the tent and then get in my sleeping bag and just try and warm up, because if I can't warm up now, it's really not looking good. But before I do that, there's one thing I want to do. That's look at the stars.
In what was a pretty low moment for me, I managed to take some of the coolest pictures I've ever taken, which is just a really nice thing to take away from this experience.
Okay, so mi casa, you casa. This is what we're working with. I've got the mat down, my sleeping bag inside a bivvy bag. So this will keep me dry, this will keep me warm. So I need to take my shoes off, leave them outside, scoot in there, put on an extra layer of joggers, and then hopefully I'll warm up. Okay, we're in the tent. You can actually see outside. It's my little peephole. I don't know why I was worried so much about not being able to breathe in this tent, because there is so many holes in it. See my breath, it's that cold. I was going to be honest, like outside I was feeling a bit downbeat, because I was like, I'm freezing, like this is going to be a rough night. But since getting in the tent, in the sleeping bag with the bivvy bag on top, and maybe some insulation from the tent itself, I'm feeling much better. Just thought I should probably bring my walking boots inside, because otherwise these will just be frozen solid in the morning. So there we go, the stinky boots are inside. Also, these walking boots are doubling up as a bit of a barrier. That's helping the insulation case. Hello campers, welcome back. The IKEA tent is doing absolute bits. It's fantastic. Maybe a couple of repairs could really make this like a genuine tent that you'd actually use. Yeah, I'm chuffed with it. Like it does feel warmer in here than it does outside. Like I just stick my fingers out, it is definitely colder there than it is in here. So IKEA tent is doing great. So change of plan, I'm actually just going to try and go to sleep now. It's 8:30. I usually go to bed at midnight, but I'm sort of limited on what I can do. Like I want to stay in my sleeping bag and stay warm, but I don't want to go on my phone because I don't want to use battery. And I wouldn't mind reading a book, to be fair, but I also want to keep my hands in the tent and keep warm. Good night.
I think it's snowing on the 10th. I hadn't bargained for this. About an hour's sleep so far. And I keep going through phases where I'm really warm, I like warm enough, and then sometimes I get cold. But generally, we're good. This is a huge test for the IKEA tent though. Can it withstand snow/rain? Good morning, campers. It's 7 a.m. I actually had a pretty decent night's sleep, which is quite surprising all things considered. There's a couple of times I woke up a bit cold, but other than that, I'm all good. But let's have a look how the tent held up because, yeah, we had a bit of rain, so I don't know if we've had any leaks or what. Let's have a look. Quite a bit of condensation, but that's to be expected given that the tent's not actually lined with anything. Like, it's pretty wet. There's some water coming in there, but there's literally a hole. So, again, to be expected. Yeah, it's quite damp, but I think it's all just condensation. There's no, like, major leaks. So, the tent's still pretty incredible. It's funny, I can hear people off in the distance that have gone to watch the sunrise, but like me, I don't think there's a sunrise to see. So yeah, this is what we could be looking at right now. Wow, look at that. What a cool place. I am just like sort of reflecting on what this experience has been though, and it might not seem like much to you guys, but like solo camping's actually pretty scary. I mean, look at these woods. You're telling me there's not something creepy in there? And like yesterday when my sleeping bag fell down that massive hill into a river, I was like, oh yes, this is the perfect way out. Like I'm not gonna have to do it. But in that moment, I also knew that I don't want to do it. And this is like a development opportunity. Yeah, it's turned out pretty well to be fair. I'd definitely solo camp again. Don't get me wrong, the tent, that's a win. I was pretty happy with that. But this whole just solo camping thing, I think is the biggest win. Now it's time to pack up the tent, head back down. But there's just one last thing after that I've got to do. Okay, it's time to show Grandma the tent. Okay, Grandma, in you come. It's not that exciting. Right, this is a tent.
Yes.
I've made it, right?
Yeah.
But I've sewn it.
You've sewn it?
Yeah. Me. Sewing. And I know what you're thinking. How have you done that? How has he done that?
My sewing machine.
Yeah, I've learned how to sew in your sewing machine.
Well done. That's good, isn't it?
Back it up, don't you? And then you go forward again.
There you go.
This is about my top speed. I don't like going any quicker than this.
No, don't go fast.
It's all about quality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not quantity.